House Democrats picked up a seat, decreasing Republican power in the House after last night's victory in New York's 3rd District special election. Tom Suozzi beat Republican nominee Mazi Pilip to replace disgraced Republican George Santos, who was indicted for fraud and then expelled from Congress late last year, amid revelations that he fabricated much of his life story. Suozzi's victory trims the Republican House majority to 219 to 213. That means that if every member is present and voting, the Republican majority can only afford to lose 3 votes on any bill. Suozzi will only be in Congress until January 3rd, 2025. There will be a primary on June 25th to determine the nominee for the November general election. He's already announced he is running for that seat. No word if Pilip is going to be running again. Not only that, Democrats also picked up a win in a special election in Pennsylvania, giving them a 102 to 100 majority in the Pennsylvania House. What's interesting about these races, especially New York, Rebecca, is that all of these polling showed that, that it was a tight race. It was only 3 to 4 points between the two. It was a blowout. And not only that, what we keep seeing is, again, we see this special election. We see other special elections. The reality is Democrats have been winning. And so you have this narrative that, oh my God, Biden and Democrats are in trouble. Yet when you look at what is actually happening in these elections, Democrats are winning. They are crushing Republicans in the suburbs. They are crushing them among college-educated voters. And so what you have is a different narrative being told when you have these media outlets that are so fixated on polls. And in this case right here, all the polls were absolute trash.
You know, this is an example where feelings aren't facts. If you ask me my feelings, I talked to family members yesterday and they asked me who I thought was going to win the White House. And, I was leaning towards what some of these polls say. However, when there's opportunities for Americans to go out and vote, we've seen that Democrats have picked up, I think, almost every special election in the last 18 months. We can even go further back and we can look ever since when Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. And when we look at every special election since then, every ballot measure where abortion access is on the ballot measures where state Supreme Court races are on the ballot, we see that Democrats are picking up a W in the win column. And we see that Republicans and their conservative messaging is losing. So right now, when Americans actually go and vote, they are voting for the Democrats.
Also seeing is this here. You're seeing, and we saw this, there were voters who said last night they voted for the Democratic candidate or the Republican because they were pissed off with Republicans for scuttling a border deal, a border bill. And so, again, I think what Rebecca says is important. You may ask in polls, do you want Joe Biden to run? Overwhelming number, including Democrats, the answer is no. But the reality is he is running. And so what it's going to come down to is, are you going to vote? And if so, who are you voting for? That's separate from how you feel.
Absolutely. May I jump in here? Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the indications from this race, from the Tom Suozzi win, also go to the immigration issue, which I think if you look at polls, it seems as if the Republicans would be the stronger party or perceived stronger party on this issue. But Tom Suozzi did not back away from this issue in his campaign ads, in his daily rhetoric, and talking about how they tried to tie him with a problem that he didn't create, neither did Democrats. We had a bipartisan bill that was presented last week in Congress, but who were the folks that rejected it? It was the Republicans. So I think people are waking up to that. I think this race is an indicator that Democrats are not necessarily the losing party when it comes to the topic of immigration. And I also want us to pay attention, Roland, to who they ran against him. This putting of a person of color in terms of the Republican candidate slate, trying to put someone who doesn't match their typical demographics forward to somehow distract from how they really feel about the issues, I think is something that we're going to see over and over And the voters need to be very wise and look at where the candidate sits on the issues as opposed to, of course, what they're trying to present, which is a person of color, so that resonates more than how they are going to vote when they get in office.
At the end of the day, what we're looking at here, Robert, is a stark contrast between two parties. We're looking at one party that is completely, positively owned, operated, and controlled by a nutcase MAGA Republican in Donald Trump. You're looking at people, you're looking at individuals who won't move on a border bill. You got Speaker Mike Johnson standing up before the people saying that the special counsel report clearly showed that President Biden broke the law. That's not what the special counsel report says. They've only moved 30 bills through this Congress when normally you move 300. These folks are an absolute joke when it comes to being in leadership.
And that's the point I want to drill down for my friends who are on the further left than many Americans are. Just because President Biden is not the far left progressive candidate you wanted, that does not mean he's not going to win re-election. Right now, if you look at the facts on the ground, President Biden's overlooking the strongest economic recovery going on Earth. I dare anyone to find an economy going better than the United States economy right now. If you look at immigration, Republicans have walked to get away from immigration bills. 2005, you have McCain-Kennedy. Republicans walked away. 2013, you have the Schumer Compromise. Republicans walked away. 2015, you have the Obama bill. Republicans walked away. They called it amnesty. 2018, you have Durbin-Rubio. Republicans walked away. That was President Trump's famous S-hole countries comment. 2021, you had the reconciliation bill where they attempted to use that for immigration reform. The Senate parliamentarians said they couldn't put it in because it wasn't a financial bill. Then 2023, you have Republicans walking away from their own bill on the Langford Compromise. They don't want to do anything. If you ask a woman on a date for 20 years and she says no every time for various reasons, she don't want to go. And that's the truth. Republicans want to do nothing on immigration. And I think the American people are seeing that they only want to use it as an electoral football. So stop being so hard on President Biden. He's doing a good job. And let's just allow the Republican Party to continue imploding from the inside out.
Well, part of the thing here, Rebecca, again, and this is what I've always said about Democrats. Democrats have an insane ability to be able to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. Democrats could pass a bill that is an important bill that impacts Americans, and what they'll end up doing is they'll get the bill passed and they will then bitch and moan about what wasn't in the bill. That to me, that's part of the thing. And so I'm always going like, do you know how to actually celebrate a win?
Some people are perpetually, the glass is half empty rather than the glass is half full. Here's the thing. We know the glass exists. We know that in this country, we need to do something with immigration. We know we need to do something to make sure that our borders are secure. And bottom line, if the Republicans don't want to play ball, then the Democrats need to take it to the American people and talk about, hey, if we control the House and the Senate, and if we have the White House, if we have a president who's a willing partner on this immigration issue, this is what we're going to do then in the first 100 days in 2025 to pass an actual immigration reform bill. That's what Democrats ought to be doing as far as messaging with immigration, because whether right or wrong, whether or not people have correct information or incorrect information, we do see that voters are being moved on the immigration issue. And, you know, and also the Democrats should definitely play offense, too, not just on the policy side, but on the political side. Keep showing, especially in swing congressional districts, that Republicans are saying, hey, we will not play ball with the Democrats. We do not want to solve immigration. Our fearful leader, Donald Trump, doesn't want us to do anything because he thinks this is a winning issue for him in November. So Democrats need to play offense on policy, and Democrats need to play offense on the political side of things.
And Suzette, my whole deal is that when I say offense, I mean play offense. And you also make it clear. I don't care what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Bullshit. When they go low, you bust their ass lower. Okay, because again, what Democrats got to understand is you're running against a man where there is no bottom. It doesn't exist. There's a thing called the ocean floor. There actually is a ocean floor. Donald Trump has no bottom. So there's no such thing as, you know what? I think I crossed the line. That's his whole deal. That is what this party is going to do. January 6th showed you, if you are running against these type of thugs and you're going to a gunfight, bring a gun. Somebody, Biden, Jamie Harrison, somebody got to say, I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah, I do believe on the messaging front, I do not know why Democrats seem so sheepish to tout the major policy wins of this president. It seems as if they're more afraid of the attacks that we've been seeing as of late when it comes to ageism and things like this, and less real and concrete messaging around the wins. There have been some huge once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation legislation passed that affects not only America as a whole, but Black people in specific when it comes to funding for HBCUs, when it comes to student loan forgiveness, when it comes to the climate change agenda and affecting underserved communities and other major points. We talked about insulin prices. I'm saying these things over and over again because I don't think the Democrats realize the education gap that has to continuously be filled, because the zeitgeist is so bent on pointing out what are the obvious shortcomings of this candidate that they're not quite aware and constantly kind of pushing out the opposing narrative in an effective way so that there is a balance in our social media as well as our traditional news media. They have to talk about wins such as yesterday being a choice of the adults in the room versus those who don't wish to see any progress. How did we get here? Remind them the George Santos saga is what took us to this special election in the first place. So I think once, as we're seeing in these two elections of last night, once people have that choice, they do want the adults in the room. They do want the problem solvers and the people who have the proven track record like this administration over the past 3 years. So it's up to them to get better in terms of the messaging and stand on business when it comes to calling out the Republicans and Mr. Trump for what they haven't done and that danger that they pose for the future of this country.
You know, and look, I was talking about, of course, that scene from Tombstone. Remember, the one guy who challenged Val Kilmer, he was talking all that trash. Well, then when you say, Joe, you want to talk some trash? Bring it. That's literally what this was. Now, I'm sure the YouTube people gonna sit and get mad at us, gonna block this out. But I love the scene, and I'm telling you, if I'm the Democrat, they had their Democratic caucus meeting last week, Robert, at Lansdowne Resort. Biden spoke. If I'm them, I'm playing this video to say, this is how you do MAGA. You think you gonna punk me? No, we ain't scared of you.
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
Fight's not with you, Holiday.
I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we never got to finish. Play for blood, remember?
I was just fooling about.
I wasn't. And this time...
That's what I'm saying, Robert. I was just playing. I wasn't.
Look, Roland, I think we've all bemoaned the fact that the Biden administration, and particularly the Biden campaign, has a press issue. They have an inability to connect with the American people. One thing that Trump did in his administration was stock his cabinet with people he met off TV. Kudlow was the Treasury Secretary. He saw him on Kudlow and Kramer, so he made him Treasury Secretary. Bill Barr did Fox News, so he made him Attorney General.
No. Kudlow was head of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. yeah, on Council White House Right. My point is he put people into his cabinet that were able to go to the American people and make the case for the MAGA. Think about the economic numbers that Biden had presided over that nobody for some reason knows about. 3.7% unemployment, 353,000 jobs created last month alone. The inflation came in at 3.1%, down from 3.2%. You had a high in 2021 of 9.2% unemployment, and we're down to 3.1%, a 64% decrease. Had 24 consecutive months of unemployment under 4%, first time since World War II. We're talking about 4.4% economic growth and real GDP growth. We have real buying power for American consumers going up. Every single economic indicator says we have the strongest economy that America has had in nearly a century, and by far the strongest economy in the world, at the same time that China, Russia, and the EU are all dying on the vine, and they have nobody to explain that to the American people. So if you go to the grocery store and talk to normal folks, they will swear up and down that we're in a recession, the economy is going bad. Meanwhile, we are in an economic boom that no one knows about because they're not articulating their message to the American people.
Absolutely. And so I'm just trying to explain to people, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. If you're going to a gunfight, bring a bazooka. That's just how I think. Sorry.